him the other
Oh,
day.
really?
No, he was pretty dressed down.
Don't tell CBS.
You're on it.
I recognize you guys.
Well, it had to do with being more informed, so we could decide on, the finances. But it had a lot of information.
I want to welcome everyone to the March 2nd regular meeting of the Abingdon Town Council, and thank you for coming out tonight and participating in your local government. We think that's very important, and we really appreciate. It's not.
Speak up, Wayne.
Is it on? Can you hear me now?
Is that better? Oh, wait, let me turn my hearing aids up.
Moved it.
Mine's not working. My hearing aid's not working either. So I can't hear you, and you can't hear me. That might work out
Sometimes
good.
that's a good thing.
He assured me there weren't going to be any mistakes. Boy, he assured me there would be no mistakes.
He did? Well, that tells you something about him, though. Can you all hear me now?
Floyd said he could hear you.
Oh, there's no microphone. How can you hear me?
Can you all hear me now?
We can hear everybody but you. Did somebody do something?
I'll be quiet. Seriously, can you hear me back there, Chuck? Okay.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Well, I'll start all over again. I'd like to welcome all of you to the March 2nd regular meeting of the Abingdon Town Council, and thank you for coming out tonight and participating in your local government. We always appreciate that. It helps us a great deal. Kim, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Bradley.
Here.
Ms. Pledge.
Here.
Mr. Webb.
Here.
Ms. Patterson.
Here.
And Mayor Prince.
Here. I'm going to lead you all to the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The first item on the agenda is public comments. We have one gentleman signed up to speak. We're going to deviate from the rules a little bit tonight. The Washington County Life Saving wanted to be on the agenda to make a presentation to us, so we're going to allow that in public comments. The request was made after the time to place it on the agenda. So we have on the agenda Mr. Jim Fogelman.
Thank you all. Good evening. I'm Jim Fogelman. I'm the president at the Washington County Life Saving Crew. I know this week we laid to rest one of our founding members, Dr. Frenchie Moore. He was with a handful of a few other people that started the crew in 1952, and we've been providing service to the town and the surrounding areas since then. And I'm proud to say I think we provide an exceptional service. But what I'm here for tonight, I'll just go ahead and read it so I'll get all the figures right. Our ambulances are equipped with the Philips MRX cardiac monitors, and sir, I don't know if I can ask this, but are you all familiar with what a cardiac monitor is? Can I explain?
Sure.
Cardiac monitor, when we get to the call, if it's cardiac related call, chest pains, whatever, this is what we put on the patient to look at their heart from different angles. You may be more familiar with it as an EKG. But we can do from a 3 lead to a 12 lead. And with the progression of EMS now, today, we can even see heart attacks that's getting ready to happen. We can bypass certain hospitals and go to specialty hospitals. We can go ahead and get them into a cath lab. We can have them in the gowns ready to go. It's shaving somewhere between an hour and 90 minutes off the patient's time from the time we pick them up to when they're on the table with where they should be. Like I said, we can take the cardiac monitor. It's a device used to shock the patient back. We can capture a rhythm. If a patient's heart's going too fast or too slow, we can actually capture a rhythm, and we can decide the rate of the patient's heart with this machine. Just a very useful machine, very life-saving machine. But anyway, to get back to it, our monitors were purchased in 2010, and which this is making them over 10 years old. Starting December the 31st of this year, Philips will no longer manufacture parts for these monitors. As you can imagine, with these cardiac monitors being 10 years old, they require very regular maintenance and repairs, and it's becoming more and more difficult to get parts, and then once they do stop this, then now we're stuck with 4 machines that are useless. But anyway, with that, our agency conducted research and found the LifePak 15 cardiac monitors to be the most appropriate replacement for us. The total purchase price for these 4 LifePak monitors is $124,644.20. Stryker Medical Company gave us a trade-in value of $4,500 per cardiac monitor, totaling $18,000, and this was on our old Philips monitors. Our agency secured a grant through Virginia Office of EMS in the amount of $57,322.10. Washington County Board of Supervisors agreed to pay $22,928.84 towards the monitors, and that's why I'm here tonight. We're respectively asking you all for $26,393.26, which is the remaining balance to purchase this equipment. And afterwards or anytime, if any of you all have questions, if you want to come by and I'll show you further of what this device looks like, what we can do with it, feel free anytime. But thank you all for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes of the January 6th, January 22nd, and February 2nd. Council, if there's no corrections, we can take these all up.
Mayor,
If we have corrections, we'll take them up one at a time.
yeah, there might be just a little typo on page 2 of January 6th. Instead of seconded by Mr. Webby, just take off the Y. Mr. Webb. That was just a correction.
Okay. You want to make a motion to approve the
yeah.
January 6th? then?
Sure, yeah.
That's corrected.
I'll make a motion to approve the January 6th regular meeting minutes with the correction of Mr. Webby to Mr. Webb on page 2.
Second. Motion by Ms. Patterson to approve the minutes as corrected. Second by Mr. Bradley. Any discussion? Kim, call a roll, please.
Mr. Bradley?
Aye.
Ms. Quett?
Aye.
Mr. Webb?
Aye.
Ms. Patterson?
Aye.
And Mayor Gray?
Aye. Now we can approve the other two in one motion if someone wants to make that motion.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Webb to approve the January 22nd and February 2nd
I'll
meetings.
second that.
Second by Ms. Quetch. Any discussion? Kim, call roll, please.
Mr. Bradley.
Aye.
Ms. Quetch.
Aye.
Mr. Webb.
Aye.
Ms. Patterson.
Aye.
Mayor Craig.
We now have a proclamation recognizing March 2020 as Meals on Wheels Month. Ms. Vice Mayor Patterson is going to read that for us.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a proclamation for March 2020 as March for Meals Month. Whereas on March 22nd, 1972, President Richard Nixon signed into law a measure that amended the Older Citizens Act of 1965 and established a national nutrition program for seniors 60 years and older. And whereas Meals on Wheels America established the March for Meals campaign in March 2002 to recognize the historic month, the importance of the Older Americans Act nutrition programs, both congregate and home delivered, and raise awareness about the escalating problem of senior hunger in America. And whereas the 2020 observance of March for Meals provides an opportunity to support Meals on Wheels programs that deliver vital and critical services by donating, volunteering, and raising awareness about senior hunger and isolation. The week of March 16 through 20 is considered Community Champions Week, when local leaders, local celebrities, and other prominent figures deliver meals and speak out for seniors to help raise awareness for the power of Meals on Wheels. And whereas Meals on Wheels programs, both congregate and home delivered, in the town of Abingdon and Washington County have served our communities admirably for several years. And whereas volunteers for Meals on Wheels programs are the backbone of the program, and they not only deliver nutritious meals to seniors and individuals with disabilities who are at significant risk of hunger and isolation, but also caring concern and attention to their welfare. And whereas the Meals on Wheels program provides nutritious meals to seniors throughout the town and the county that help them maintain their health and independence, thereby preventing unnecessary falls, hospitalizations, and our premature institutionalization. And now, therefore, Jane Wayne Craig, Mayor of the town of Abingdon, do hereby proclaim March 20th, 2020 as March for Meals Month and the Community Champions Week, and urge every citizen to take this month to honor our Meals on Wheels programs, the seniors they serve, and all the volunteers who care for them. Our recognition of and involvement in the National 2020 March for Meals can enrich our entire community and help combat senior hunger and isolation in America.
Thank you. Would the representatives from the community center please come forward? Kim wants to get our picture. We can just stand up here.
That's better. Thank you. Thank y'all.
Thank y'all for what you do.
Thank you, Randy.
Thank you for what y'all do.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Thank you, my friend.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is petitions, public hearings, and first reading of ordinances. Item number one is we have a public hearing, first reading of ordinance, zoning text amendment to the Code of Abingdon, Virginia, Appendix D, zoning ordinance, Article 21, signs, Section 21.8, prohibited signs, 21.8.1. Mr. Moran.
Yes, Mayor, this proposed amendment to the zoning code was initiated by the Planning Commission. It's gone through the required public hearing at the Planning Commission, and it has been recommended in its form. Essentially, the proposed amendment makes a change to the sign code and I'll just read it since it's very short. It will read as follows. Vehicles and trailers shall not be used primarily as static displays advertising a business, product, or service, nor utilized as storage, shelter, or distribution points for commercial products or services for the general publics. The reasoning for this, as the Planning Commission had raised concern really since last summer, since I arrived, and we've had discussions about this. Now has been involved in some of those discussions, that there's just been a proliferation of vehicles being parked in front of businesses that just remain there. Some of them trailers, some of them being used to store inventory, and this just helped the code officials be able to try to address those. That was the purpose of the proposed change.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Moraney. I now declare the public hearing open on the amendment to the sign ordinance. If anyone wants to speak on this matter, now's the time to come forward and state your name and address. Anyone want to speak on the proposed amendment to the sign ordinance? Since no one wants to speak, I declare the public hearing closed. Council, shall the proposal be rejected? Okay, we'll move forward with the ordinance. Thank you. It'll be voted on at the next meeting. The next item on the agenda is second readings. We have a second reading of a proposed amendment to the Town of Abingdon Code Part 2, Code Chapter 2, Administration, Division 4, Ordinances and Resolutions, Section 2-96, generally. Mr. Moran.
I'm going to let Mr. Bell read this. We haven't spoke about the last meeting, but he drafted it.
We've spoken about this on several occasions, and we're mostly just clarifying 2-96B, where there was some confusion about when an ordinance could be passed by emergency measure and when ordinances could, the second reading of ordinances could be dispensed with. An ordinance can be passed as an emergency on 2/3 vote, or in the alternative, if council, 4 of the members of council, my math isn't that good, but I think there are both 4 members on both of those circumstances, but an emergency measure would require an actual emergency. The second one has no specific requirement other than the supermajority vote, just to make that clear when council could vote in those circumstances. And also, as you may recall, 2-96C had a 30-day waiting period after the second reading had passed. This has been changed, that ordinances will be in effect from the date of their passage. We talked about this at a work session and first reading, and now this is the second reading.
Okay, council, any questions? What's your pleasure on the ordinance change?
I move we approve it.
Motion by Mr. Bradley to approve the amendment to the ordinance.
I'll second that.
Second by Mr. Webb. Any discussion? Jim, call the roll, please.
Mr. Bradley?
Aye.
Ms. Quest?
Aye.
Mr. Webb?
Aye.
Ms. Patterson?
Aye.
And Mayor Craig?
Aye. The next item is a second reading of a proposed amendment to Section 2-129, Fire Department. Mr. Moran.
Yes, as you may recall, this is just the ordinance that makes the provision in our town code similar to the pending changes to the town charter, which I expect will get completed this month, since I think the legislature adjourns. It's passed both the House and the Senate in the same form. So, and since the charter will control in this instance, once we adopt this, once the charter is approved, then it would become, in fact, the ordinance will be effective. Really, at that time, once the charter is approved. Is that correct, Ken? Okay.
And the charter revision isn't until July, effectively.
It is right. It is right. Effective. It might pass, but it's effective July. Right.
Thank you, Mr. Moran. Council, what's your pleasure on the change to the charter?
I move on second reading and adoption of a proposed amendment to Section 2-129 of Fire Department.
Motion by Mr. Bradley to approve the proposed amendment.
I'll second that.
Second by Vice Mayor Patterson. Any discussion? Kim, call the roll, please.
Mr. Bradley.
Aye.
Ms. Webb.
Aye.
Mr. Webb.
Aye.
Ms. Patterson.
Aye.
Mayor Craig.
Aye. The next item is a second reading of a proposed amendment in the Town of Abingdon Code, Chapter 2, Administration, Article 5, Procurement, Sales. Mr. Moran.
Yes, as you may recall, was discussed previous meetings, this is just replacing the existing provisions in our code to a very succinct phrase that just states that we will comply with the Virginia Public Procurement Act. So everything in the Procurement Act would control, and then the town manager will develop regulations for small purchases outside of those.
Thank you, Mr. Morani. Council, what's your pleasure on the proposed amendment to the charter regarding procurement and sales?
I move that we go ahead and proceed. Thank you.
Motion by Ms. Patterson to do what? Cindy?
To go ahead and proceed to adopt this code and what Mr. Moran said.
Motion by Ms. Patterson to approve the proposed amendment to the town procurement code.
I'll second that.
Second by Mr. Webb. Any discussion? Kim, call the roll, please.
Mr. Bradley.
Aye.
Ms. Quetch.
Aye.
Mr. Webb.
Aye.
Ms. Patterson.
Aye.
And Mayor Craig.
Aye. The next item is a second reading of a proposed amendment to the Town of Abingdon Code, Part 2, Chapter 74, Utilities, Article 2, Sewers and Sewage Disposal, Division 1 generally. Mr. Morani.
Yeah, this ordinance is just a general cleanup. We went through and made changes and replaced the word facility manager, wherever it was, to town manager or designee. So this particular ordinance was just essentially a cleanup of the existing sections. There wasn't anything else, I believe, right? That was it.
Okay. Council, what's your,
And there's also 74-34.
Oh, we
which
combined it
adds
in
a
one, that's right.
sentence,
That's right.
that the town manager can refuse an application if there's insufficient capacity in the sewage works. So there's an amendment to 74-28 and
That's
an amendment to
I
74-34.
forgot we had combined those in a single one, because the next one's
okay.
the.
Council, what's your pleasure on the proposed amendment to the sewer ordinance?
I'd move we approve on the second reading, the amendment to the town code, chapter 74, utilities, article 2, sewers and sewage disposal.
I'll second that.
Motion by Mr. Bradley to approve the proposed amendment, second by Mr. Webb. Any discussion? Kim, call the roll, please.
Mr. Bradley.
Aye.
Ms. Quetch.
Aye.
Mr. Webb.
Aye.
Ms. Patterson.
Aye.
Mayor Craig.
Aye. The next item is a second reading, proposed amendment to the Town of Abingdon Code, Part 2, Chapter 74, Utilities, Sewer and Sewage Disposal, Division 4, Wastewater Discharge, Subdivision 1, General, Section 74-72, Administration, Subdivision 3, Administration, Section 74-123, Wastewater Analysis, and Section 74-124, Permit Requirement. Mr. Morani.
Could you repeat
Mayor,
that?
I think you said
Section.
74-72, and I think you meant 74-82.
82.
Excuse me.
Yes, sir.
This one did not involve any language. This was primarily the cleanup. I think there was, this is the one that had all the changes from facility manager to town manager or designee. And we combined a couple of these too, so I just want to make sure that there was nothing else. I think this was just a combination of 5 different sections that we were revising.
I think it was more than just facility manager. I think the public works director perhaps was in one of those.
It was one of the draft ones.
It also referred to the POTW, which is just the works itself as acting in some manner, which I don't think it ever could. So that would change that to town manager instead of the sewer pipes.
POTW is, I kept seeing that in there. What is it?
Publicly owned treatment works, yes. Yeah.
What?
There was, I mean, what Cam was saying, there was a reference, we actually caught that, I think, actually after the first reading, it said when the POTW approves, and they're an entity, they can't really approve anything, so we
Yeah.
changed that one also to be consistent with the rest of the sections, change it to town manager or designate, so.
Okay.
Now you'll never have to change it again, unless you get rid of town manager.
Council, any questions on second reading of this ordinance? Or the amendment to this ordinance? Okay, council, what's your pleasure?
I'd move that we adopt the amendment to the code Part 2, Chapter 74, Article 2, Division 4, Subdivision 1, 7482, 74-123, and 74-124.
I'll second that.
Motion by Mr. Webb to approve the amendment, second by Mr. Bradley. Any discussion? Kim, call a roll, please.
Mr. Bradley.
Aye.
Ms. Swett.
Aye.
Mr. Webb.
Aye.
Ms. Patterson.
Aye.
Mayor Craig.
Aye. We have no bids. The next item is reports from the town manager and the staff. Update regarding the Abingdon session. Ms. Jane During, Director of Tourism.
Good evening. Thank you very much for your time. Thanks for all you do. Sarah Savatra is with me. Not too long ago, we came to you and we said that we had some concerns because Barter Theater was opening its season considerably later, and that we were concerned about the nightlife and the disruption that would cause. You understood. You answered the plea. You understood that we could not sit idly by without doing something. And you gave your approval to hire Midwood Entertainment to help us put on the Abingdon sessions. Sorry, Cindy, I didn't mean to do that. Okay. I'm happy to say what you have in your hands right now is the first column is the Midwood budget that they submitted. And we had anticipated that this would have a net cost to the town of $56,700. If you look to the right of that, that's the actual as of today. Ticket sales exceeded what we expected. Artist fees were less than we expected. Show expense was less. The Midwood fee remained the same. So your net out of pocket is considerably less at $38,015. And then underneath that, you have the barter fee at $6,000, so your net is $44,000. So thank you for taking that risk. It paid some benefits. We got a detailed ticket report from Barter Theater. I think it's very interesting to note that 22% of those attending Abingdon sessions came from Abingdon and Washington County, so locals appreciated it. I think it's also notable to say that 43% drove more than an hour to be here. So chances are they were eating in our restaurants and staying in our hotels. That's another win for us, for the coffers. And 52% of all sessions ticket buyers, it was their first time in Barter Theater, either at a Jams event or a Barter Theater event. That's another plus, that's another accomplishment. We hope they'll come back. Sarah, at every curtain speech, talks about the significance of Barter Theater and the quality program that they put on. Then at the very last section, you see how they purchased their tickets. We did have some technical difficulties. Barter's website had some glitches that we reported. They were very responsive, but nonetheless, it will have no way of knowing how much in ticket sales it cost us. But I wanted to give you that breakdown as well. So, thank you. This did not only the obvious that you have on your report, but what it did is it illuminated and it inspired the community to think about what other programming would be invigorating for the community. And as a result, the Historical Society had another great event. We've got Restaurant Week coming up with a celebrity chef event. And further, it has inspired, we're having conversations about finally cultivating a winter festival. If towns in Minnesota can do a winter festival, I think Abingdon can. So sometimes necessity is the mother of invention and diversity and imagination. I don't know when Barter is going to open up their season next week. We are in very close communication. Katie's been very, very available. She just doesn't know. This is brand new. She needs a little bit of time to get this year's programming under her belt before she can make that forecast. As soon as she does, we will know. I said we don't want to be caught on the back of our heels again. She understands that. She is very compassionate, very understanding. So they are part of our partnership talks for the Winter Festival that we're planning. I think that the soil is very fertile, and you helped kind of illuminate that, hey, we can do more things. So, thank you for your sponsorship. Sarah has a little something for you.
Thank you, sir.
If council will permit me, I've got a couple of other items. They're all good.
Sure.
Okay. Saturday night was the American Federation of Advertising Awards. And we had several projects that we submitted. Right now,
Sorry.
I'm seeing how many council members I can miss. The Thursday Jams poster design won a silver Addy. The Busker Fest brand identity, and what brand identity means is it just was comprehensive. Everything from a poster to a tear-off map, to a t-shirt, to a website and schedule, that got a gold award. Thursday Jams video, one of our interns that Sarah and Amanda coached, won the student gold award for his Thursday Jams video. Then the Busker Fest brand identity won the very best in show. At the same time, we had our Way to Play videos, the series of 3 videos. And the company who helped us do that is in Nashville. They said, can we submit that in the Nashville market? We thought, sure, who knows who might see that video in Nashville. And in the Nashville market, we won the gold award for those videos. So, thank you for that. 2 more very quick things. Because of a grant through the Virginia Tourism Corporation, we are embarking in a critical study. One is a visitor profile survey. We're sending that out to our entire database. We're sending it out through social media. We're also sending it out through Barter's email list. And it's to create a visitor profile. What do you like? What do you do? What time of year do you come here? If you don't come here, where do you go? So working with a consultant, we'll have the analysis of those survey results in June. We will certainly present that to the council. We're following that up in August with a strategic planning session. So we'll take the visitor analysis, combine it with our stakeholder analysis, and form a 5-year plan. So by the end of 2020, we should know where we're going to go. We might tweak the plan, we might go another direction. Just curious to see what's changed with our visitor profile since 2012, which is the last study, made possible by a VTC grant. One last thing, Abingdon High School has a new tourism class. The school and the students recognize that tourism is an integral part of Abingdon's fabric and economy, and the student demand and the teacher interest. They've got a class. William Bear Lloyd is the instructor. We contacted him. He said, come on, I want to throw away the textbook. I want real world experience. We've arranged for 12 weeks of weekly speakers, everything from marketing, graphic design, how to run a restaurant, how to run a hotel, National Tourism Week. So at the end of that, we also tasked them with a capstone project. So they're going to be doing blogs or a photography expose or poster design or video design, and we're going to be on your May council meeting to show you a couple of the best of those outcomes. So I wanted you to know that. Thanks for all you do. Thanks for your support. Thanks for the Abingdon sessions that absolutely made the difference in the nightlife and the spending in Abingdon during February. Thank you.
Thank you, Jane.
Thank you, Jane. Okay, council, the next item on the agenda is council member reports. Does any council member wish to make a report?
I'd like to say that I attended my meetings. I'm a member of the Veterans Park. Actually, that meeting is going to be held this month. I attended the Tourism Advisory Committee meeting, and we discussed several things. I also attended Tree Commission meeting, and Derek and myself and Mr. Morani went to Richmond. We got to go to the Capitol, talk to Mr. O'Quinn, Israel O'Quinn, and William Wampler, and also just a few minutes or seconds with Mr. Pillion. He was in a meeting. So we also went to an awards program, and I'll let Mr. Morani talk more about that. Did you bring the?
Oh, I
Did you-
left it in the, well, no, they haven't sent us the
They haven't
thing
sent
yet.
it yet.
All I brought back was that placard
Okay, the award.
that we had to squeeze into the Uber
Yeah.
van.
Well, we won an award. Do you want to expound on that a little bit, or you want me to?
Well, yeah, I mean, I wasn't involved in it, so I can't take credit for it, but it was, what's the association? John, you better come up here because I'm gonna
CHA.
get, what's the no, but the
Oh, the
association that
association.
gives the awards, the engineering.
The Engineer Association.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Engineers, committees.
It's basically the State Association of Consulting Engineers, basically a bunch of people
Engineer.
who overcharge communities. I'm kidding. We got a retired
It's
consulting
a
engineer.
Consulting Engineers Council.
Yes, there we go. And it was wonderful.
And they had submitted the project.
I'm calling you down for disrespecting our engineer.
This is all, that's a joke.
It is. They had submitted the Urban Path project for an award, and usually the engineers do this because they want to bring attention to projects they've done, and that's all good. And it was recognized, and the town received the award. And there's one for the engineer, and we will be getting some sort of a trophy of some sort. But right now we just have the whiteboard that displayed the
urban-
project there.
For the
So,
Urban Path.
yeah, and I think it's in
And-
John's office right now.
And we also attended a meeting with the Virginia Municipal League or VACOR, or VACOR, so we attended that as well. So it was a busy 2 days, and
Just a lot of rain.
yeah, a lot of rain, but that's okay. Let's see, oh, and I did go to the recycling meeting that I'm so passionate about. I'm still trying to get recycling underway here for Abingdon and get the legs back up underneath it, and I've been really passionate about that. And I went back to my emails today, and I even talked to Mr. Vidum, I believe it was, back when he was our interim town manager. But anyway, I went to, Mr. Morani and I went to the meeting over in St. Paul, and it's a regional meeting. There were other entities there. I think ETSU was there, and I can't
Couple
think
counties,
of
Scott County
Scott
was there.
County, Lee County, and a lot of them,
Washington County.
region. So they're also trying to find a way to regenerate and recycling. And we're trying to work together as a unit, but I'm still trying to get curbside service down here, and I'm right here in Abingdon, Virginia. So with maybe the help of Mr. Dew and the folks at RDS or other companies that may provide that service, I'm hopeful we'll get that in Abingdon as soon as we can. So, I'm still working on that.
Okay, thank you, Cindy.
You're welcome.
Any other council members wish to report? Okay, the next item on the agenda is appointments to boards and committees. We have more than one applicant for some of these positions, so we may want to go into closed session.
Yes. I move that the Abingdon Town Council convene in closed session pursuant to the Code of Virginia, 1950 as amended, Section 2.2-3711A1, for the purpose of considering applications for appointment for position or positions on the Historic Preservation Review Board, Board of Building Code Appeals, Sustain Abingdon, Economic Development Authority, and Recreational Advisory Commission.
Motion by Ms. Patterson to go into closed session. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Bradley. Any discussion? Kim, call roll, please.
Mr. Bradley.
Aye.
Ms. Swett.
Aye.
Mr. Webb.
Aye.
Ms. Patterson.
Aye.
And Mayor Craig.
business, they need to go
What?
back.
Well, good.
Go back
I
in.
don't mind, that's great.
We're still in closed
No,
session.
no, unfinished business, I forgot to say something.
Oh, we don't need, I just what you're doing. You've got to make a motion to go back.
Oh, for sure, no, well. Okay, ready?
Help me out a little bit here. Who are they?
Everybody ready?
Are we on?
Nuts. You don't even live in the town. Do you have a hobby?
I was curious to know who you were gonna choose for, because there was one main one, there were 3 people.
They moved you from Texas.
Which is-
We're gonna let them duke it out.
Bed north.
Okay,
Okay.
council, are you ready to go back into into open session? If you are, Ms. Patterson has a motion.
I move that the town council certify that in closed session just concluded, nothing was discussed except the matter. Is this? No,
We
I
have to
didn't-
do an open session first.
Okay, let's go back to open session, okay.
You've got to make a motion to go into open session.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we go into open session now.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Patterson to go into open session, second by Mr. Webb. Any discussion? Kim, call a roll, please.
Mr. Bradley.
Aye.
Ms. Sweat.
Aye.
Mr. Webb.
Aye.
Ms. Patterson.
Aye,
Mayor Craig.
Aye. All right, now you can go.
okay, I'm sorry.
It's
I
no
got
problem.
ahead of the horse here.
Well, Kim changes it every week, so.
I move that the town council certify that in closed session just concluded, nothing was discussed except the matters specifically identified in the motion to convene in closed session and lawfully permitted to be discussed under the provision of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act cited in that motion.
Motion by Ms. Patterson to certify. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Bradley. Kim, call a roll, please.
Mr. Bradley, do
Aye.
you so certify?
I so certify.
Ms. Sweat.
I so certify.
Mr. Webb.
I so certify.
Ms.
I
Patterson.
so certify.
Mayor Craig.
I so certify. Okay, before we adjourn, Council Cindy has requested, she's got something she wants to say, so.
And then we'll go to appointments and boards and committees,
Oh,
if
yeah,
that's okay
yeah,
with
yeah,
you all.
that's fine.
Okay, I just wanted to be proactive this evening and get some things laid out here on the table for the citizens of Abingdon. I think it's helpful for citizens to be apprised. So what I'd like to do is do a brief, ask Mr. Morani to do a brief update on the sports field complex. And I have a few more things that I wanted to discuss about it. But first and foremost, I want to say on the record that we are moving as fast as we possibly can to get the sports field going. There is nothing that we can do right now. If anyone wants to take a drive-by and look at the mud, and it's knee-deep probably, I don't think I could walk through it. There are standing puddles of water. It's gonna be worse by this week. It's gonna rain again. But we have done everything in our power as a town council to move this forward. Back in late fall, we voted to draw down $7.5 million to take advantage of the low interest rate on that money. We've still got some of that money just laying aside for the sports field complex. So I just want to put that out there and let the citizens know that the ball has not dropped. We will carry on as we told the public we would. So Mr. Morani, would you like to give a short, brief description, and then we will be more thorough, as I have pulled a lot of the council reports from Mr. Morani.
Hold on, Cindy, I'm glad you made the report, but asking Mr. Morani, that'll be up to, are you prepared to?
Yeah, I can give a brief update,
Okay.
and I told John that I might ask him to say something short. But we did have a meeting with CHA last week. I sent my report out right before the meeting, so some of you might not have seen it. I was working up until last. We had a meeting with Stevie Steele with CHA on Friday. They have, it's about, I think 90% complete is what John said, the utility plans. No, I'm sorry,
Utility and storm drain.
yeah, utility and storm drain. As you might recall, we had a change order last year that we approved, and but the plans had yet to be completed. They're near completion, and that work really couldn't even continue right now because of the weather conditions. Once the weather conditions approve, the plans will be done shortly, and those could either begin with the current contractor having to remobilize, or if for some reason the council decides to put it in the entire bid proposal for the sports complex, we could decide to do that, just for convenience purposes, because it doesn't really need to be done right now. But the bid-ready documents are still on target. Steve from CHA told us to be prepared and completed by March 18th. So I think our hope was, why don't you come up here, John? I think the hope is to have it ready to go out to bid. I think we said May or June. Is that what he indicated?
Yes, I think,
Okay. Fill in the gaps
like
that I left.
Stevie said, that they do still plan on having the plans and the bid package put together by this month or later this month. But when we receive that, we want to look over the entire package. We want to take time to review it, make sure it has everything in there that we need, that we want, before taking it out to bid. So there'll be a time period between there that I think we need to take a final review of everything. But we did have a meeting, like Mr. Morani said, last Friday with Stevie. He did show us the storm drainage utility plans that he has put together right now. He's been working closely with the contractor, who we do have under contract right now, established, discussing the final quantities that it looks like we're going to be involved with on that activity, the storm drain and utilities. So,
And I think our hope was to also, before we put it out to bid, to bring it for a cursory review to the Recreation Advisory Committee, because
right.
there's some things in the project list that we just want to make sure that, do we need all these lights? Is this necessary? Just some things that we want to make sure that they're aware of, since they're going to be involved, and the people on this commission are involved with some of the athletic programs. So,
right.
so I expect we could probably do that within the month. So,
and I'll echo the words of Ms. Patterson that the field out there right now is just a sloppy mess. So we're really not losing any time right now, construction-wise, at all. So, not using that as an excuse, but that's just the reality we're dealing with out there. I think I came before you a couple months ago talking about how we needed to do some work out there to be in compliance with erosion and sediment control regulations, and the contractor did that work, and in the process also dug a channel to drain that water that was backing up adjacent to the creeper trail out there. So that was a good effort. However, during that effort, it certainly chewed up some of the terrain out there that are required to be fixed once the contractor gets remobilized out there. So, don't think we're losing any ground right at the moment, given the weather conditions.
John, did I understand you to say that the utility plans that are part of the change order are still not complete? But you anticipate that they will be complete, so
Very
the
soon.
contractor can proceed when it dries out?
Yes, because when we had that meeting last Friday, Stevie had just a couple questions about the utilities and the layout. So we answered those questions. He was going to take that back to the designers and
this is the 2049 we talked about.
The elevation.
The 2049.
Yeah, and so he may have them complete by the end of this week. We're getting back together with him by the end of this week. May have those completed by then. And the thought was to have that work done separately, and I think that's why that change order was issued. Have that work done ahead of bidding the entire project, so that the strategy being that the bidders for the larger sports field project wouldn't have to get a subcontractor to do the storm drain and utility work.
The point I wanted to be clear is that the sports complex construction will commence as soon as it dries out in the form of putting in utilities.
Yes, yes.
So we
That's
are
our
beginning
intention,
construction.
I seem to recall if that needed to be, that grading work needed to settle and stabilize for a period of time. Is that,
Yeah,
is it had long enough now?
the grade work is fine, and that was, I think the site was being monitored for
It
settlement.
was.
and-
Well, I think the last time he spoke, he said that was good.
Yes, the geotechnical
Yeah, he did.
engineer came back and reported that the settlement had apparently all happened,
Yeah.
occurred, so we can move forward with the other part of the work now. Part of the, I guess, the process for CHA has been I think you all were made aware that they did a resurvey the site to see what the terrain looked like after the Meadows was constructed, compared to what they had originally designed for the sports field. So there were some adjustments that had to be made, not surprisingly, between the transition between the two separate efforts. So that was part of their process to get it to where they are now, as far as they really do have a final layout, if you will, of the sports fields and all the amenities that go along with it.
Would it be fair to say that that was a little bit of a delay too, because there was extra dirt there? And also drying time, the dirt would not dry. We've been dealing with
During
weather.
that process,
Yeah.
yes, there was continuous issues with getting the material dry. And not to go too deep into the technical side of it, but the material needs to have proper moisture content to compact properly, and that's why it ended up having the issues with the settlement that had to be taken care of. So we're there now. Of course, it's been raining quite a bit. We'll see what we get into once we get back out there. But
So he's confident that all this rain won't create any more significant amount of settlement?
I don't think so, because the material, it certainly affects the upper layer, the first several inches, maybe a foot of material, something like that, but it'll dry out. It'll be fine, but we still do have a little bit of grading work to do, along with a very small amount of grading work to do along with utilities.
Thank you. I
Thank
appreciate
you,
that.
John.
Thanks, John.
I'd like to finish, may I finish, please?
Sure.
Okay. What I was gonna say is, the manager's reports, I believe, are online. Citizens can go on there at any time and look at all, from way back. All of the manager's reports and all the sports field complex information is on there. And also, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the Recreation Advisory Committee is gonna try to get their minutes on our website. So that way, you can also keep up with what the recreational committee is talking about, and they're certainly gonna be working on the sports field complex as well. So if you have any questions, folks out there that's listening, just please call any of our council members, Mr. Morani, and of course Derek Webb's on the committee. We'll be happy to answer any
Don't
questions you
call our
have.
attorney. We won't talk to you.
Thank you, Mayor, for letting me bring that to
You're
the
quite
public's
welcome.
attention.
Good information to keep before the public. We moved along to appointments to boards and committees now. We have an appointment to fill the expired term of Andrew Neese.
Uh,
Is there a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to appoint Christy Hartshorn.
I'll second that.
Would you repeat the name one more time?
Christy Hartshorn.
Okay, motion to appoint Christy Hartson by Ms. Quetch, a second by Ms. Patterson. Is there any discussion? Kim, call a roll, please.
Mr. Bradley.
Aye.
Ms. Quetch.
Aye.
Mr. Webb.
Aye.
Ms. Patterson.
Aye.
Mayor Craig.
Aye. We now have the reappointment of Byram Geisler, who's eligible to serve an additional term. Is there a
Yes.
motion that we reappoint him?
Yes, Mayor Craig, I'd like to make a motion to reappoint Byram Geisler to the Historic Preservation Review Board, who is eligible to serve an additional term.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Patterson, second by Vice Mayor Patterson, second by Mr. Bradley. Any discussion? Kim, call a roll, please.
Mr. Bradley.
Aye.
Ms. Quetch.
Aye.
Mr. Webb.
Aye.
Ms. Patterson.
Aye.
Mayor Craig.
Aye. The next appointment is for the Board of Zoning Code Appeals. Do we have a motion to make an appointment there?
I'd make a motion to appoint Mr. Michael Weaver to the Board of Building Code Appeals.
I'll second that.
Motion by Mr. Webb to appoint Michael Weaver to the Board of Building Code Appeals, second by Ms. Quetch. Any discussion? Kim, call a roll, please.
Mr. Bradley.
Aye.
Ms. Quetch.
Aye.
Mr. Webb.
Aye.
Ms. Patterson.
Aye.
Mayor Craig.
Aye. The next appointment to be made is the Sustained Abingdon Committee. Is there a motion to make an appointment there?
I move we appoint Aaron Bond to fill a vacancy in the Sustained Abingdon Committee.
Motion by Mr. Bradley to appoint Aaron Bond.
Second.
Second by Mr. Webb. Any discussion? Kim, call roll, please.
Mr. Bradley.
Aye.
Ms. Quetch.
Aye.
Mr. Webb.
Aye.
Ms. Patterson.
Aye.
And Mayor Craig.
Aye. We have Melissa Kalb, who's eligible to serve an additional term. Is there a motion to appoint her?
So move.
Motion by Mr. Webb to appoint Melissa Kalb to the Sustained Abingdon Committee. Second by, did I hear you, Al?
Yes.
Second by Mr. Bradley. Any discussion? Kim, call roll, please.
Mr. Bradley.
Aye.
Ms. Quetch.
Aye.
Mr. Webb.
Aye.
Ms. Patterson.
Aye.
Mayor Craig.
Aye. We have an appointment to make for the Economic Development Authority. Is there a motion on that?
Yes, I'd like to make an motion to appoint Rick Morgan to the Economic Development Authority for the, to appoint him and to replace an expired term of Alex Brown, who's unable to complete his term.
I'll second that.
Motion by Ms. Patterson to appoint Richard Morgan to the Economic Development Authority, second by Ms. Quetch. Any discussion? Kim, call the roll, please.
Mr. Bradley.
Aye.
Ms. Quetch.
Aye.
Mr. Webb.
Aye.
Ms. Patterson.
Aye.
Mayor Craig.
Aye. Okay, council, that completes our agenda. If you have anything else to say, I'll entertain that.
We'll just say that we'll get back with this, with the public on the Recreation Advisory Commission. We didn't have any applications for that.
Okay? Council, we're adjourned.